Welcome. In this video, let's talk about percentages. I'll show you what percentages tell us, and then we'll learn how to calculate them. Imagine I tell you that a company's revenue increased by $500,000 over the course of 1 year. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? $500,000, that's a significant number. But actually, it depends. Because if we're looking at Apple Computer, their total revenue last year was $380 billion. So 500,000, that's really a drop in the bucket. However, if we were talking about a local construction company who had revenue of $5 million, well, an increase of $500,000, that would be relatively significant. When we are looking at change, when we are comparing things, we can do that from two perspectives. We could take the absolute or the relative perspective. If I say that sales increased by $500,000, I'm working in the actual units. That's the absolute comparison. However, if I say that sales increased by 10%, that would be a relative comparison. When we're looking at something that's changing, it's that relative comparison that puts the change in the context of the starting place, and it gives us more insight into understanding the significance of the change. Coming back to our example, it's the percentage change in sales that tells us if the company had a good year or not. Let's now look at calculating percentages, and we'll do that with the information from our previous example. Last year we had sales of $5 million. This year we had sales of $5.5 million, so the difference in dollars would be $500,000. That is the absolute change, the change in dollars. How do we show that as a percentage increase? Well, I'll take that difference, 0.5, and I will divide that by the starting point, or last year's sales. And if we do the math, that comes to 0.1 or 0.10, and that is 10%. We now see that the $0.5 million increase in sales over last year is a 10% increase. And this works both ways. Imagine that sales weren't $5.5 million, but imagine we had a decrease in sales. This difference now is a decrease, so we could show it as a negative 0.5, and that would change the sign of the 10%. So now we have a 10% drop in sales. So sales dropped by 500,000, that's a 10% drop in sales. Let's try that again, only this time you will do the calculations. Let's imagine we're talking about the share price of a company. And last year on this day, one share sold for $4.80. Today, a year later, one share costs $6. Please pause the video and calculate the percentage increase in the share price. Welcome back. The first step, let's get the difference in share price, and we can see that that's $1.20, and that's an increase. Now, we can take the $1.20 and we can put that over the 4.80. And if we do the math, we see 0.25. And if we multiply that by 100, we turn it into a percent. So we see that the share price increased 25%. So the $1.20 increase in share price represents a change, an increase of 25%. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we calculate percentages.